I'd like to start off with a quote from Rumi. There's one thing in this world you must never forget to do. If you forget everything else and not this, there's nothing to worry about. But if you remember everything else and forget this, then you will have done nothing with your life. Fairly dramatic statement, yes? Mundane, everyday analogy might be if, let's say you were hosting a dinner party. You had just moved into the neighborhood. You wanted to make new friends and invited all the neighbors over and wanted to put on a nice dinner. And you were going to make spaghetti. And about an hour before everybody was going to show up, you realized that you didn't have any pasta. And so you asked your partner to run out to the store, buy some pasta, and get back in time to make it for supper. And they come back and they bring back, I don't know, a pair of socks and some WD-40 and no pasta. It's like, there was just one thing that we needed and it was essential, and you did everything else but that. It's like, come on. So it's like that. So what's the one thing that we're talking about? So the question is really sort of the most fundamental question, like, what is it that's living this life? What's that? And if you asked, the person on the sidewalk, probably 99 times out of 100, they'd say, well, it's me. I am living this life, but that's just giving a pronoun to something that's far more mysterious than that and doesn't actually really answer the question at all. I mean, I think what most people, when they say me, they refer to this body-mind. It's like when we're younger, it's more body, and when we're older, it's probably more mind. But it's this package. And we think, well, that's me, and there's this sense of self, the sense of individual that has a continuity, and the continuity is held together by memory, right? Past events, and we sort of string them together, like popcorn on a Christmas tree ornament, and that is how we define our life, by this sequence of things that have happened in our past. Of course, none of those things are actually happening now. They're just every once in a while, dragged up into current memory, and we remember this fact or that fact. And there's enough facts that they feel continuous, but when we really look closely, they're just snippets here and there over the course of a lifetime. There's so much that is never remembered. I mean, we brush our teeth every day, but we don't have a specific memory of brushing my teeth on the 1st through the 31st of every month. We don't have that. We know that we did, but we don't have the specific memory of it. So we infer this continuity and then take possession of it as our identity. That's who I am. That history, that storyline, coupled with what I now believe about myself and the world and who I am and my appearance and my skill set and so on, my attributes. And that package we take to be me. But that package is, as you may have noticed, is always changing. Our appearance changes, our age changes, our health changes, our situation changes, and so on. Our memory changes. So over the course of a lifetime, even our cells in our body, undergo, a number of changes over the course of a lifetime. So when we begin to look at the details of what we're calling me, it's not as solid as it may seem before we really look at it. So Socrates also had something interesting to say. He said, "An unexamined life is not worth living." Yeah, again, pretty direct. So what do we mean by examined life? It's really looking into this question about what is it really that's living this life? Not just the quick answer, but what is it? In other words, does this storyline and all these other attributes that we mentioned, is that sufficient to define you, your experience? I mean, it's a valid question because, in the very near future, there will be the capacity, if it's not there already on social media and databases and whatever, to know more about you than you know about yourself. And yet, even having that entire package of information, everything that's ever happened to you, whatever held that set of data wouldn't have the experience of being you. So there's something other than just these facts about what we are. And we all deeply know that, but then the question is what exactly is that? And so we can give it names, we can call it a self, for one thing. We can call it consciousness, call it awareness, call it soul, whatever name we like. But it's one thing to have a word for it that seems to be appropriate, and it's another thing entirely to have the sense of what that actually is and the significance of what that actually is. So we can easily answer the question like, what is your true nature? Oh, I know, it's awareness. But that's not, that might be helpful only in the sense of creating a question about where to look. As, for example, I wonder if that's actually true. I wonder if my true identity is awareness, or is there something more individual, like a sense of self? And if there is a sense of self, can I find it? If I go looking for it, for the sense of self, the sense of me, I can certainly find all the memories, I can find hopes, I can find fears, I can find knowledge, I can find opinions, I can find beliefs, I can find a lot of things, but where is this self? And so when we really go looking for it, it can be puzzling. Raman asked, who am I? And, so most people take that to go looking for, well, Ramana said there was an I, or seemed to be saying that, and so I'm going to go looking for it. But the looking for it is actually necessary because it seems so obviously true that there's a self present that unless we really look diligently for ourselves, it seems too preposterous to even imagine that there isn't one. Only by looking for ourselves might we be convinced, after we've looked, I don't know, maybe 1,000 times and never found it. We might begin to be convinced, not as a concept, not as a theology or an idea or some useful spiritual concept, but as a lived reality, like there is not a personal self here feels like it. It certainly feels like it. But when we go actually looking for it, we don't find it, which can be, that can either be terrifying or immensely freeing, depending on how we look at it. Right? I thought I was this. I thought I was me, little me, with all my limitations and, past misdeeds and karma to work out and frailty and so on. And I suddenly discover that, no, actually, I am free. I get to experience life through this form. Yes, that can be beautiful and it can be challenging sometimes. It can be painful sometimes. But when there is the recognition in one's own direct experience that what I am is already free, then all of that becomes not only more tolerable, but more enjoyable. Right? The freedom to live life through this form, from this spacious beingness, having this human experience. Amazing. So one question is, what Rumi said, ultimately true. There's just one thing. There's just one thing in the sense that if it is realized in one's life, it transforms everything. Transforms our sense of what is living this life and what this expression of creation really is. And that's immensely liberating. However, whether that's realized or not, we are all still unavoidably part of that same creation. So ultimately, there's no downside. Yes, life is more enjoyable, sure. Does it mean that no difficult things ever happen? No, it doesn't mean that at all. But it does mean a certain freedom from that sense of separation and fear about life. It does mean that. So that's really the invitation, not out of a sense of fear, because like I say, all is ultimately well. We can't avoid being what we are forever. Maybe for a very long time, but not forever. So there's no ultimate downside, but there is an opportunity, a really unique opportunity in this lifetime to see what is truly living this life. If we don't know what's living this life, it sort of brings into question, like, what are we doing what we're doing? Why are we doing it? For whose benefit? Right? If we don't know who it is that's living that life, for whose benefit is all this busyness about? So that's the invitation in this lifetime. I mean, we're, of course, all free to take that seriously and investigate what's truly there. The really good news is that it is available for our own proof. It's actually taking somebody else's word for it may be helpful in terms of sort of giving a direction to look, like this, looking in this direction is fruitful. That can be helpful, but nobody else can do it for you. It's an individual journey, ironically, because there is no self, but that's how it is. That's how it feels.